Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast.
Don't give up until you find your thing.
Don't be afraid that you don't know what you want to do yet, because I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I still don't know what I want to do yet.
I'm still trying to figure that out. If you don't have it figured out early, don't think you're never going to find it.
You really make your own opportunity.
What do you genuinely enjoy?
Everything is strategic. I mean, nothing ends up how you want it to end up.
You go around once, there's no dress rehearsal.
But you have to understand yourself to know what your passions are, and then it just comes really easily.
Keep looking for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today on the show, we have Rob Lawless. What is going on, brother?
Not too much. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good.
You're on a mission.
Yes.
A very big mission of meeting 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
You'd say so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's daunting to most people.
You're going to be my 90th episode, and that is nothing compared to the amount of people you've sat and had hour conversations with. So
Sure.
I want to give a quick shout out to you for doing that.
Thank you.
And then also being able to be part of your journey.
Yeah.
Who is Rob Lawless today, and how young is he? Let's get started like that.
He is 27 years young.
27 years young.
Yeah.
I'm glad you hit the young, because I always push people. It's like, I'm not old, I'm young. But
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel young.
27 years young.
From Norristown, Pennsylvania, which is 40 minutes outside Philly. And currently today living in Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And on a mission, like you said, to meet 10,000 people.
Yep.
I've met 1,854 people.
Right now.
Right now.
1854.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And then, yeah, right after this, heading to meet 1855.
How many people do you meet in a day?
I try to meet four
4 a day?
day.
That's
During-
like the golden. If you can hit 4 a day, you're happy with it?
during the work week.
Yeah.
And especially out here in LA just because of traffic.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
Horrible.
living in Long Beach and always elsewhere.
Yeah.
But in Philly, where I started the project,
Mm-hmm.
at that point I had a bike and I would just ride around and meet like 5 people.
Because it's
a
an
day.
actual city where you could ride and meet people.
Right.
LA is a city, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
You're gonna have to drive 15 miles after this, or 10 miles to meet the next person, and another 5 miles. And
Mm-hmm.
It's still LA proper, but it's not an actual city where you could just take public transit or ride a bike or
Right.
or actually get around to people.
In Philly, if I was going from one part of the city to the next, 30 minutes on my bike.
See,
Yeah.
that's nice. A nice little stroll. You get to enjoy the sunshine. You can write up the next post. You can actually
Right.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
What was life like growing up in the suburbs of Philly for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of me recognizing that it was pretty good is realizing just the span of what a life path could be.
Yeah.
From talking to so many other people.
Yeah.
But I'm the youngest of 3, so my brother's 29, my sister's 33.
Okay.
All 3 of us went to Penn State.
All 3 of you.
All 3 of us.
Okay.
Yeah, so my sister started the trend.
Did you follow because they went, or I feel like you're the third one. It's like, all right, well, I have to go now. Everybody else went.
I wanted
I can't
to.
not go.
From the moment we moved my sister in is when I knew I wanted to go to Penn State. But then I think being the youngest, there's a little bit of that rebellious part of you that's like, they went there, so I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the only other school that I seriously considered was UNC. And I applied and didn't get in, so Penn State it was.
Shout out to UNC. They're gonna be pissed when you're like on the cover of Time magazine.
Oh, yeah.
10,000 people applied to UN. You tried to get into the school there, but they didn't let them in.
Right.
So you're like, yo, we should have let them in. Why didn't we let them in?
Oh, yeah. But Penn State shaped a lot of who I am today and a lot of why I started this project. So I don't know if, and I think that all the time, like, I wouldn't be me today if I didn't go to Penn State.
Yeah.
And that goes for everything through life.
Yeah, it's helped to get you to where you are. So you have the two siblings.
Right.
I also heard on a recent podcast you were the youngest of 16 cousins
On my dad's side.
on your dad's side.
Yeah.
I come from a very big family like that on my father's side as well.
Nice.
How do you think having a big family like that has helped positively influence who you are today?
I've just had a lot of role models to look up to
Yeah.
throughout life. So all of my cousins they're great family people.
Mm-hmm.
They're all doing well in life. And so I grew up looking up to them and wanting to be like them.
Yeah.
And yeah, that, and I've just had a really great support system. So that's another thing, even just with my immediate family, having the childhood that I had with them, like my parents are still married, still together.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's happy and healthy. And to have a non-traumatic childhood, I feel like is a luxury.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Because you it's like you just go with the flow on things, and you don't realize until you speak to other people, you hear about other stories of they lost somebody,
Sure.
their parents were divorced, or even I catch and just driving Uber, I hear stories of what people have gone through in their childhood, and I can't even think having your parents get divorced at the age of 8.
Sure.
Imagine how much that mentally just like throws you off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine. But it's good to have like a family like that where everybody's kind of on the same page, and it's healthy relationships for you. What would you say is your favorite memory from, was it Kennedy Kendrick Catholic High School?
Kennedy Kendrick.
Yeah.
There's no D, but literally.
Oh, there isn't.
Everyone
Did I say it wrong?
No.
Kennedy Kendrick?
Kennedy Kendrick.
Oh, wow. See, I probably saw it when I was doing the research. I saw Kendrick, and I just immediately assumed Kendrick.
But
Shout out to Kendrick Lamar. But
Every
I was
other
wrong.
school would say Kendrick.
Okay.
So we're just, Kendrick. But what's my favorite memory from Kennedy
favorite
Kendrick?
memory.
Oh, man. I think in general, senior year I did the play. We did West Side Story.
Okay.
And I always say it was like High School Musical. So I played soccer all throughout high school.
Mm-hmm.
And senior year, I did the play. A couple of my buddies did the play from the soccer team. We had people from the football team, girls from the volleyball team, and then all the people who did the play in general. And everyone just had the best time.
You guys had the blast with it.
Yeah, there wasn't any jocks versus play kids or any of that stuff.
Everybody was on the same level playing field.
Right.
Huh.
And I remember people saying before, the play is fun, but play practice sucks. And we had the best time in play practice. We would do like doo-wop songs, just sitting in the stairwell of high school. Just
you guys
for
were
fun.
all kind of like on the same page. This is fun.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're a jock or if you're somebody who is on the chess team, it's just all different. It's all even playing field.
It was sweet.
I never did any of that creative, like the acting or creative stuff when I was growing up like that. But it
No.
always interests me now thinking about how much that kind of opens up you as a person when you're trying and pushing yourself to do that types of stuff.
Sure.
Penn State. So you went because obviously the parent or the two siblings.
Yeah.
But what did you enjoy about that experience?
The thing I like most, so it's in a college town.
Yeah.
It's in the center of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally drive through mountains and valleys and farms, and then you hit this college town.
Okay.
And it's 40,000 students. And that was one of my favorite parts, is that I felt like I could run into new people every day, even though I was making good friends there. So it was always fresh. And I think just that newness and the opportunity to meet someone as a senior who had been there all 4 years, just like me, was always exciting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a big playing field of different people.
Yeah.
40,000, that's just such a big number because I think, my school one time, I think it's 3,500 undergrad.
Oh, really?
So that's nothing. I went to Bentley University right outside of Boston.
Okay.
I went to a small school, LaSalle College, for a year, and then I went to Bentley for 3 years. But 40,000, that is a city full of students. That's unbelievable.
Right.
What do you think changed the most about you within that 4 years?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I was just heavily involved in clubs and activities, so I don't know if I had so much a big change that I can look back on, so much as just a natural grooming into who I am today. And
what were the clubs and activities?
so I did freshman year, immediately I joined Thon. So Thon is Penn State's dance marathon.
Okay.
It's a year-long fundraiser to raise funds, or it's a year-long effort to raise funds and awareness for pediatric cancer.
Okay.
And so over 15,000 students are involved in it. It's like the largest student-run philanthropy in the world. And I did that immediately. I was on morale, which meant that I was basically a cheerleader for a dancer.
Okay.
And so Thon Weekend is a 46-hour, no sitting, no sleeping dance marathon. You don't have to dance the whole time. Yeah. So every year there's about 700 dancers who stand at 6 p.m. on Friday, and they don't sit until 4 p.m. on Sunday.
You have to just move around.
Right.
That sounds horrible.
Right.
How
And
did you get through it?
so I danced my senior year, which meant I was up that whole time.
Okay.
The first 3 years I was on morale, so I was cheering on a dancer.
Yeah.
And I would go 4 hours on, 4 hours back, 4 hours on. So you just go and you be with them during that time. You go home and you sleep. And then you go and you be with them. But the whole idea of it is that you're kind of taking on the pain that the kids who have cancer are going through. So you're taking that from them, And then the families with children with cancer go to the arena and they get to play the whole weekend and forget that they have cancer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And they love that. Like that's
Yeah.
such a like amazing tribute.
Yeah, it was awesome.
What would you say would be the thing that changed the most? I diverted you from the actual question because
Sure.
I was curious to hear what you did for the activities, but what would you say has been the big thing that changed about you within that 4 years?
I think maybe just me realizing my strength as a connector or a people person, because by the time I was a sophomore, I was walking around campus starting to see people on the way to class, and more often than not, like when I'd walk with my friends, we'd stop 5 times for me, maybe like 1 or 2 times for them. And then it just kept happening senior and junior years as
You were
well.
just like a friendly face. You were always just kind of making friends with everybody, or what was it about connecting with people that you liked?
I think I was just more open to addressing people. So if I knew you through a club or activity and I passed you on the street, I'd say what's up to you. Whereas I think there's some people who just put their heads down and they go to class.
Yeah.
But I'm that type of person who, even if we have a weak tie, I want to address you and I want to say what's up to you.
See, that's cool. So
Right.
even if you meet somebody, that one interaction, you're going to see them again and say, what up? I feel like there's a lot of people out there, it's like they won't say hello, especially on the college campus,
Sure.
because it's kind of a bubble. But you won't really go out of your way to say what up to somebody unless you're kind of mutually on that same level, or it's like, oh, I had a class with that person. Oh, I had a club.
Right.
But you were somebody that was like, nope, I'm going to say what up to that person, say what up to that person.
Right.
And kind of just kept the network open.
Right. Because then those relationships grow stronger over time. And I found that even now, like I'll meet with someone and then the next time I see them, there's a level of comfort.
Yeah.
Because you know each other's backstories.
Yeah.
And you become more a part of each other's lives
Yep.
because you set this foundation.
Yeah.
And then you added frequency of interaction to
Yeah,
it.
and that it's always that first interaction that's kind of like the awkward or the weird. You're just trying to get warmed up to each other, but then
Sure.
after you kind of get that open, and even I told you at the beginning before we started the pod, first 3 to 5 minutes is always like this
Sure.
weird, like, hey, what's up? How's it going? But then you start flowing, and it's the same thing with like relationships or people. It's like once you break that barrier, and you just have the conversation, and I think sometimes just skipping the small talk and getting right on into like the big conversations of like. Talk to me about your childhood. Tell me where you grew up. Like, what was your struggles instead of what's your, I don't know, just
How's the
general.
world? Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes people just ask certain questions that are just buying them time. And it's like, let's just get right on into it. Like,
Sure.
let's get into the meat and not ask and waste time of other people.
Right.
You graduated, you ended up working for Deloitte. That was
Yes.
a consulting / business analyst position.
Yep.
And then you also did some time with, is it RJ Metrics? It was
Yes.
like a tech startup.
Yep.
What did you learn about yourself from both those career experiences?
So I studied finance at Penn State. I minored in accounting and entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I think I learned from working at Deloitte that I was much more attracted to the entrepreneurial side than the finance side. And I knew that.
You had that as a major and a minor, right? I didn't
Right.
touch that. You were a finance major and then an entrepreneur minor.
So finance and then minored in accounting and entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, when I was at Penn State, my whole goal was to go into banking or consulting because as a finance major, that's the cool career to go into and that's the one with a lot of money. So actually Deloitte was my reach company and I interviewed with them, got the job, had a great starting salary.
How pumped were you when you got the acceptance?
Yeah, it was sweet.
You were like fired up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I think
That was your reach job. So you didn't even think you were going to get it.
No, I mean, I did really well in school and I was involved in a lot. So I think I just approached interviews in the wrong way.
Why?
Because I didn't want to, I felt like maybe I was a little bit entitled. I felt like I had earned the spot to have a job at that company because there were other companies. I specifically remember one interview, I think it was like Chatham Financial or something. And they went in and I just wouldn't do research on the companies beforehand because I wanted them to judge me based on what I had done, not on what I knew about what they had done.
Okay.
And I remember in the interview, they were like, what about our company makes you want to work here? And I would be like, I think it's a great opportunity. And
You would
blah,
just beat
blah,
around
blah.
the bush?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And the guy said, what specifically about our culture makes you want to work here? which, having been on the other side of that when I was at Deloitte, perfectly reasonable questions.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So at the time, I just said, well, I don't know. I was hoping to learn a little bit about that from you guys today in your experience. And he just looked at me and he was like, that's not good.
That's what he said?
That's not good.
He said that's not good?
Right. So
he knew that you clearly didn't.
Right.
Okay.
And then he told me about the culture. And then I had probably 3 more interviews after that. And they'd ask me the same question. I would just tell them what he told me. Right. And it didn't work. I didn't get an offer. But it's interesting because now when I go into these meetings with people, I know nothing about them.
So you're still approaching it the same way you did on these interviews.
And I like it that way because I don't want to go into a meeting feeling a certain way towards someone.
You don't want anything exterior to influence your opinion.
Right.
Seeing their posts on Instagram or tweets or anything. You just want to go in not knowing really anything except maybe what this person does.
Right. I want them to tell me who they are and what they're all about. So I've kind of made my way work into how I am today. But yeah, reversing back, just I got Deloitte, which was my reach job.
Yeah.
And probably a month into it, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. But at that time, I think when you're a recent college graduate and you're in your first job,
you got to stick with it.
You got to stick with it. And you also think that work is supposed to be kind of miserable. Because that's just the culture is you go to work, you don't really enjoy it. You come home, but at least you're getting a paycheck at the end of the day.
Yeah. Man, I don't know what it was, but I saw that like as the thing you were supposed to do. And that's why I never even applied for a job because I knew that what I was supposed to do was just get the first job and then just stick it through for the first year. And then after that, change it up. And for some reason, I just had the confidence in myself. And I said, I'm going to skip that entire phase of trying.
Right.
And then in a year and a half, be like, okay, this definitely wasn't for me. Even though I told myself this wasn't for me, I'm just going to skip it and not even go through it. And then I hear your story and it's like, see, it's like, that's part of your journey though. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's helped get you to the point of why you obviously started this whole movement. But, you know, and you also made the comment about, which I loved, is you go in with no knowledge of the person.
Sure.
When I'm doing these interviews, it's the same thing. It's like, should I be approaching conversations where I don't know anything about this person, I just know what they do, and then deep dive and then genuinely be asking questions in the moment? Or do I do the research and I have a list of questions and now I'm trying to piece this puzzle together because I know how the story went, but now I just want it to be recorded. You know what I mean? So I don't know which way is the right way, but the fact that you went into interviews and you're like, yo, I don't know nothing. You guys got to sell it to me because you want me at the end of the day. I don't need you.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. That's so you end up quitting the RJ Metrics, right?
I quit Deloitte after a year and 3 months to go to RJ Metrics.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was interesting. I think in my life, one of the things I've noticed about myself is that I'll make big life decisions like very nonchalantly. So my decision to leave Deloitte because they had paid me a signing bonus, I had to pay $5,000 to quit.
You had to pay them $5,000 to quit.
Right, because
it's a hell of a way to look at it.
You had a $10,000 sign-on bonus, and you keep $5,000 if you stay after the first year. You keep all 10 if you stay 2 years, and that's just their way of kind of keeping you for that time because they're investing in you. And I left after a year and 3 months and paid the $5,000 back so I could take a pay cut and go to a startup. And then I went to RJ Metrics, and they, at the time, had $24 million in funding. They raised 16.5 of that 24 3 weeks before I joined. And so for me, and Philly companies don't really have $24 million in funding. They were like the poster child of startups in Philly.
Okay.
And for me, just knowing that the consulting firms were starting to use data analytics, RJ Metrics is a data analytics software company. It seemed like they were trending in the right direction to kind of catch that wave and ride it. And I wanted to be one of the early employees at that company so that when they blew up,
you were already there.
I was there. Yeah.
But it didn't work out because you're not there today.
Right. So and it's interesting. We grew really quickly. I was the 5th guy on their outbound sales team. And in about a year and a half, they grew that team to 19 people.
Damn.
And then in February of 2016, so I joined October of 2014. February of 2016, they laid off 20% of the company. And that my team went from 19 back to 5. So I had essentially reversed a year and a half, because at that point I started to have people who were training under me and kind of doing the work that I was doing when I started. And then when they were all laid off, I went back to doing everything that I did when I started, because there just weren't enough hands.
There was a backtrack on it,
Right.
Which is it's not supposed to go like that. So now you're back to where you started. It's like, what am I even doing here?
But at that point, I had met probably 20 people. No, not even. Maybe 10 people.
Oh, so you had already started meeting people for the 10K.
Right.
You had wrote in your journal, my ability to meet people is what will take me to where I want to be. What was it about this that, like, why did you write that and inspire you?
I have no idea why I wrote it. I mean, at the time, so when I left Deloitte to go back to when I left Deloitte to go to RJ Metrics, I was kind of journaling, because I was taking the train from Norristown into Philly. So my commute was about an hour and 15 minutes each way. And I think I was just in a place of uncertainty and a little bit of fear of, did I make the right decision? Because at Deloitte, they would have paid for me to get my MBA full-time from one of the top universities. And I knew that I had left that opportunity on the table. So I was just journaling about what it was like to go from Deloitte to RJ Metrics and kind of where my headspace was. And when I wrote the third one, I looked back to read the second one, and I had written that in the journal entry. And I think that was just me thinking back to my days at Penn State, learning that I was a good connector with people, and realizing how well that served me in school, just from being able to walk around and say hi to everyone, and that could also then serve me in my professional life.
So is that, when reading that, was that kind of the moment of like, maybe I need to just start meeting people again?
Yeah, I think that was the moment that, rereading it was the moment that I decided to write an email and write a direct message. Because up until that point, it had just been an idea that I hadn't taken action on, and that was kind of the inspiration for me to revisit the idea and actually take steps forward with it.
Where did the actual idea stem from then? Like, when did that even come across your mind where you're like, this could be something that I could do?
The first documentation I have is January of 2014.
Okay.
So it's still in my iPhone notes. The original idea was to meet 10,000 people in 1 year, 10 minutes at a time. And it just came, at that time, it came from a place of me not wanting to work in my 20s or 30s or whatever.
Wanted to live the good life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I was so naive. There's a lot of naivety in the younger years of life, but I just thought that it would take off, and somehow from that, because it would be covered by all these people, that I wouldn't have to work.
That you just get sponsors and it would just immediately be funded, and you'd be
living
a good life.
There was no foundation to it. It would be like me trying to build my future on a cloud. Whereas now, me doing an hour with each person and really making the investment to make this a 10, 15-year project, it's like I'm building a foundation on a rock.
And that first person, like, that must have been such a good feeling of like, okay, now we're like starting this, like we actually are moving this forward.
Sure.
How hard was it to get to that point? Because you had all these ideas and you had this moment of like, all right, maybe I actually need to follow through with this. How hard was it for you, or what did you struggle to actually finally then get it going?
I think at that point, once I had the inspiration, it was a very natural thing to do, because I was working in tech sales. So I was emailing people every day that I didn't know, asking them to hop on a call with me for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so for me to email someone and ask for an hour of their time just to chat, it was just the same thing that I was doing all day, every day anyways. It was just a different ask.
Yeah.
And so I think and that's the crazy thing when you look back on life, I wouldn't have been able to take this full time if I didn't build up my savings at Deloitte.
Yep. There's
a lot that I do now that comes from my time as a sales rep at RJ Metrics, in the fact that I'm sending calendar invites to everyone that I meet with. I'm confirming the night before. All of those type tactics. And even in the beginning, when I was doing the majority of reaching out, I would write an email, not get a response, and say, hey, don't know if you caught this, but I just wanted to follow up. And there's no shame in that persistence, because I was used to it through my job.
Because you learned through there.
Right.
How? Yeah. So elaborate more on that process. Like how do you build out your schedule and know that you're going to be at this place and you're going to meet this person and then I'm going to meet with this person next week? What's that process like for you?
So now it looks like me just fielding requests that come in through my Instagram.
Because you've met with so many people that people are reaching out to you.
Right. It's just now people will repost our photo to their page or tell their friends about it, and they'll reach out to me because they think it's a cool idea. So especially here in LA, if I'm getting requests from people in LA, it just looks like me asking them what part of LA they're in. And then once they tell me, I'll schedule them for a day and then build that day around them.
And then you'll try to find, if you were scheduled in Burbank, then I'm going to try to find 2 or 3 other people that are either in Burbank or touching next town, Van Nuys or Silver Lake or something that's within driving distance.
Right.
Aha.
Yeah. So for example, this week, today I'm in Silver Lake. Tomorrow I'm in Hollywood. Wednesday I'm in Venice. Thursday I'm in Santa Monica. Friday I'm in Orange County. And then Friday night I'm flying to Seattle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you get stressed out?
No.
No.
I mean, I do, but in general, I'm just a very go with the flow person.
Which is important.
Yeah, and I think we might have talked about this, but I'm also just so confident in the fact that I'm on the right path now that I see no point in stressing out.
Yeah, because you know this is like what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Which I think is important. Once you get that confidence of, I know that I'm supposed to be doing this,
Right.
then it's everything else becomes irrelevant. It's about, okay, I need to do this. What am I going to do to make sure that this happens? Are there points where people just kind of, I don't want to say flake or duck, but like cancel at the last minute, and then you're like, what am I doing? Or
Sure.
does that get at you, or you kind of just rub it off and it's like, all right, well, we'll just keep moving along?
It used to.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it was just part of the journey and it's a natural thing. So even today I had someone cancel on me, and then I refilled that with someone else who was in the area.
Right on the spot.
Like, I just messaged them. Yeah. So probably an hour afterwards.
They cancel. So at least, so the person canceled a couple hours ahead of time, but you were able to
Right.
find somebody within that time frame of the cancellation that, hey, I actually have the spot. Are you able to meet?
Right. Right.
That's acting on the fly.
Yeah. And in Philly, that would happen all the time. But there are days where I'll have 3 or 4 meetings cancel last minute. And that can feel like I'm not being productive. But one of the things that I've learned is that you need to control the controllables. So anything that's outside of my control that it is negatively affecting the project is not because of me. It's just because of other circumstances.
And you can't control that. So there's
Right.
therefore no reason you should get stressed out about
Right.
it. Wow. That is, you're juggling a lot at one time.
Yeah.
What's been some of the more, I don't want to say the most interesting person, but what have been some of the more interesting stories or spots that you've met people?
Stories wise, there was a guy that I met in Philly who he was a hotel concierge. I talk about him all the time because he just struck me.
Okay.
Because I walked into the meeting and I thought I knew a little bit about what his life would be like.
Yeah.
But the moment he spoke, he had an accent. I learned that he was half German, half South African. And when he grew up in Nigeria, but when he was 16, he was living in Romania.
Okay.
And flew to New York to go boating on the Hudson with some friends. And he fell off of the boat and was then run over by the boat. And his legs got sucked up into the engines. So
No way.
yeah. And I've heard of that before, but to talk to someone who experienced it,
You've heard of people like getting sucked up into.
I've heard of people being like, don't be where the boats are because the engines can suck you up.
Yeah.
And it happened to him, and he said it was essentially as if someone had put his legs into a blender. Is what happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they just got chopped up, and they said that he had a 12% chance of ever walking again, a 15% chance of living. He lost 5 of 6 liters of blood on the way to the hospital, technically died and was brought back to life. And then he just made a recovery. And we walked our whole hour together, and he showed me like he had scars on his legs from where they had been cut up and stuff, but
Dude, that's amazing. I didn't even know what to say. How long had that been since that had happened? I mean, this is years after the fact, or?
yeah, I think he's probably in his 30s now.
Whew. Man, you want to talk
Right.
about changing perspective on things. And this
I
guy,
know.
and there was a 12% chance of him living.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
So stories like that, I mean, you're going to meet, I would imagine it is difficult to remember 1,800 plus stories
Sure.
of people. I mean, that's just, I think, impossible. But there are, I'm sure, going to be people like him where instantly that's going to be the first story you tell when somebody says, hey, what's the most interesting story you've had?
Yeah, there's just a handful of people that I think of when that conversation comes up. And some people have lived some crazy lives, and that's why I think this project has, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's just made me realize that my childhood was awesome.
Yeah.
I have no trauma that I've had to overcome and physically heal from or mentally heal from.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that's a luxury.
Yeah, it for sure is, and I can for sure relate to you on that.
Right.
What about favorite locations? Anything crazy? Jump out of a plane? You guys talk floating through the sky?
I want to do that. I have not done that yet.
I have somebody that I think you could do. If you want to jump out of a plane, I think I could talk to you after. I might have somebody.
Nice.
That would be epic.
Yeah.
I have somebody.
It will happen. I went surfing for the first time through the project, which was really cool.
That's super dope.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite meetings because it was a Sunday morning at 6:45 in the morning. And she was a surf instructor at the school. And so we got me a wetsuit, a board.
First time surfing?
First time.
Oh, that's epic.
Yeah. And she taught me what to do on the sand. And then we just went out in the water. And half the time it was just me laying on the board, her hanging off the side of her board, watching the waves behind me to make sure I was getting the right one.
Yeah.
So half the time we're just chilling on surfboards in the water. The sun's coming up. And
oh my God.
talking about our lives.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you actually catch a wave? Were you able to catch one?
I got up on the first try.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Did you snowboard or ski at all growing up? I feel like that's got to help a little bit. Or maybe skateboard at all?
I ski. I feel like boogie boarding helped because we would do that in Jersey.
Okay.
And I think just the concept of catching the wave at the right time.
You understood it. It was just more actually like doing it.
I think I'm going to go surfing this Wednesday, actually.
Where?
In Venice.
Oh, that's gonna be epic. Where did you surf with the girl?
Seal Beach.
Where's that?
It's like 15 minutes below Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything below LA, I feel like it's just surf capital for
Sure.
a lot of people. Here's one. I'd be curious to know. Do you remember what number I was when we met?
Ooh. No, I don't.
No, I didn't think
do you remember?
I didn't remember until I saw it, and I was like, I'm gonna be embarrassed if he remembers off the top of his rip.
Yeah.
But it was 1,718.
17, 18.
Yeah, 1718.
That's crazy. Do you remember what date that was?
I had to look. It was April 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, so almost 2 months ago, which is
Yeah.
crazy. I feel like that was not that long ago.
Right.
I swear, time out here I don't know if it's because the weather just feels so consistent out here, especially going up on the East Coast, that time to me, it's like, wait a second. I feel like we just met.
It's true.
3 weeks ago, and this is 2 months ago. I don't know. It's with the weather just kind of being the same to me. Maybe it's not to other people, but I feel like when I moved out, since I moved out here in September till now, it's just been one big month. It hasn't been 7-9 months since. It's just the weather just feels, I guess, changes so much.
I agree with that.
Started in Philly, out here in LA till August. What other cities do you want to take this to?
Just all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All U.S. or outside?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's like jumping in your mind right now? Where do you want to go?
So, Seattle, that will be the first time that I'm going to Seattle.
Is that like a weekend trip or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, a guy who heard about my project through this guy, Matt, from Yes Theory, YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He hit me up and basically was like, I have extra airline miles. I can fly you up if you want to come meet me and my friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So I'm flying up Friday, staying with him Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flying back Monday.
Wow.
And then the following weekend, I'm going to San Diego for the first time. And I'm staying with two guys who are friends of this guy, Brandon Harvey, who I did that podcast with. So
how do you, I mean, I feel like now it's getting to the point where all these opportunities are kind of just coming to you. Like you put in these things.
That's good.
You put in the groundwork of getting the ball rolling, of trying to build this idea into something. And now I feel like it's getting to the point where, I mean, you just said earlier about the DMs, but now bigger opportunities are kind of funneling to you. And it's almost like your work is now paying off, and you still are so early on in your journey.
Right.
But now you're starting to get all these opportunities. You're getting flown out to places. I mean, that's huge, man. I mean, you're connecting with the right people.
Yeah. It's all, and I think in my mind, the strategy was all just make it come together before you run out entirely of money.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask how much money you started with, like, to save?
I honestly have no idea,
Okay.
but I know my starting salary at Deloitte was $72,500.
Okay.
And then that next year I was up to 77, even though that was only for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I worked for a financial advisor in high school, so once
You
I got
were
my
good with your
first
money.
offer, yeah, I just saved, and I was saving like $2,000 a month.
Okay. So you probably had a good amount at least to start.
Sure.
And you still got to live minimally, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If I went out to the bars on Saturday and I spent $10 and I felt bad about that.
Wow.
And
smart man.
That was the first time that I'd been out at the bars. Really, I don't know. I've probably been out to the bars. I could probably count it on my hand in the last year or two.
How were you in college?
Oh, every
week.
well,
It was the same.
Thursday, Friday,
dude,
Saturday.
It was the same way, man. It was the same way in the college years, all the time. Now it's, I think, literally twice in the last 6 months.
Sure. I think it just changes. Even still, I think I would be out at the bars if I had the money to spend there. Because
You wouldn't be, or you would be?
I think I would be.
Okay.
Because I'm still social. I think I'm okay with not going out because I have such a large social life during the week
Yeah.
that I'm not really trying to escape from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my brother will always talk to me and ask if I'm going out to the bars. And I think he has a hard time with the fact that the most social person he knows stays in on the weekend
Yeah.
nights.
But it's necessary for you to do this, to
Right.
create this. Because if you're going out and you're wasting money, I don't want to call it wasting, but if you're spending money on things that you don't necessarily need,
Sure.
it's driving you away from this overall goal of building this, of
Right.
this brand.
Yeah, you absolutely start to think in terms of what is a necessity and what's a nice to have.
Yeah. And you got to make those crucial decisions of like, I don't need this. I could go out, but probably
Right.
shouldn't. And I should probably save this $10 or whatever amount of money
Right.
that needs to be saved. For the people that follow the project on Instagram or interact and whoever comes across it, what do you want people to take away from it? Because obviously you're doing it for you, but what are you hoping that people take away from it that come across it?
I think, I hope people are inspired to go out and talk to people with no agenda more often, because I'll talk to so many people who they want that in life. And I think all of us want to connect with each other with no agenda because you had that naturally in your school days. And when you become an adult, you're either connecting with people to date or you're connecting with people for business purposes. There's just no real reason. And I think people think that everyone else's life is too busy and that they already have their set group of friends. But I think a lot of us are still looking for that connection because we're all still young. I mean, you're always young throughout life. And I think to make connections at any point in life is fulfilling.
Yeah.
So hopefully that more people they feel okay. And I think there's probably safe ways to do that with connecting with friends of friends or DMing people on Instagram who have similar interests to you.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I'm more about the time that I spend with people and that in-person interaction and the fact that we can do things like this.
Yeah.
See each other afterwards and know each other.
Yeah.
But I do like sharing people's stories because sometimes it gives other people something to relate to.
Yeah.
And I think if I can do that and help people feel more welcome, then that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. You're affecting, even if people aren't, anybody that comes across it, they might not interact, they might not DM you, might not comment, they might not like, but
Right.
there still is somebody out there who's going to come across it and it's going to lift them or it's going to inspire them or it's going to do something positively to their life.
Right.
Even if you don't know it, at least you're putting out like that energy to the world.
Right.
But it is different too. And I think the hardest thing that has been for me since I graduated is that when I was in college, I didn't really have like a goal or like a passion. So it was kind of just this free flow and just kind of go with the flow. And on the weekends go out and just, and be friendly and be sociable. But then it's like when you graduate, it's now you're in the real world.
Sure.
Like things need to have, at least in my mind, have to have a purpose. I mean, there's
Sure.
no more just going out to go out. It's either you're celebrating or it just becomes a different way you look at the world because there's no more. College is like a safety net. You can do whatever you want. You can be a clown. You can make bad decisions. It's all right. You're in college, but then you get into the real world and you have bills to pay. You have to do these things for yourself. Otherwise, nobody's going to actually do it for you.
Right.
But guess it takes time, and I think people figure out. Kind of going back to what you said, it's like I don't even go to the bars anymore, and it's because you have like that passion, you have something that you're working towards, and I try to appreciate having my own thing that I'm working towards because that's what life's really all about. Like we could really argue for both each other. We're chasing our own dreams, and I don't think a lot of people we can have that conversation with.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I wake up on a Monday and I'm excited because I get to create content, I get to record a podcast, I get to prep stuff. That's like what I'm working towards. And I know a lot of people out there right now woke up on a Monday morning and are miserable doing the things that they hate.
Right. Yeah. What you just said something. Oh, even going out to the bars, I think that's one of the reasons that I'm confident about me being on the right path. And probably you feel the same way. Is I think if you had talked to me when I was at Deloitte and said that you need to give up the bars to chase your dream or whatever, then I would have seen it as, okay, I need to stop. I need to make that sacrifice and stop going to the bars so that I can find a dream and do it. But what I found through this project is I still wanted to go to the bars, but it just became naturally more exciting for me to have another week of my project than another night out at the bars.
Yeah.
So I've just found that those sacrifices, they felt less like sacrifices and more just like common sense because you're comfortable in the uncomfortable situations because you know you're working on the thing that fulfills you most.
Yeah, that's so well said. That is what it comes down to because it doesn't even become a question anymore. It's
Right.
like, I need to do this. I need to meet these people or whatever. This is, yeah. You really well said it because it doesn't become a question anymore. It just becomes this is what I have to do, and I'm just gonna do what is necessary to get things done. How do you mentally keep going?
How do I mentally keep going?
Yeah, even when maybe you're not making X amount of dollars that you think you should be making from this project. When people, I know we had mentioned the cancellations, or when you just aren't seeing the results that you think you deserve. How do you mentally remind yourself to keep going?
Sure. I think just in my mind, I believe in the project and I believe in its ability to grow to a point where I'm surviving off of it and it has a large impact. But along the path towards that, I think when things aren't working out, it's kind of just testing in you. Those are the moments that you will look back on and be like, this is why I've earned where I am today.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the path is supposed to be easy. And I think a lot of times when people want to work towards a dream, they want it to just be up and up and up because it's exciting. But if you think about a good story, it has the hard times too and the obstacles that you have to overcome. And even now with my life, when I'm going through this journey and things aren't working out, it's kind of something that I appreciate because then I can go to other people and when their things aren't working out, I can say it didn't work out for me either, but because I kept walking and kept pushing, eventually it swung back around and things started to click. So it's almost like the way I see cancellations. When that happens, I think to myself, okay, well, that was always going to happen. That's part of the journey. I wouldn't have gotten to 1855 if I didn't have any of those cancellations. Yeah. Before, it's still just an hour that goes by and you do something else in that hour that serves you in a different way.
Always keep like a log of things to do so that when things arise like that, it's like, cool, that happened. I'm going to work on something else.
Yeah. So there, even a good example of that notion, there was a time that I think I was meeting a girl in Hollywood. So I had 4 people scheduled for this one day. The person I was supposed to meet at 6 canceled in the morning. So I had 3 people. The one girl I was supposed to meet at noon, and I was driving from Long Beach to meet her in Hollywood at noon. I left at 10:45 to get there at noon. It was 11:30. I was driving for 45 minutes. On the way, a guy hit me up and was like, hey, I can do 2 p.m. today. Asked him if he could do it in Hollywood. He said yes. Great. So I had noon, 2, and a girl lined up at 4. At 11:30, the girl who I was supposed to meet with at noon canceled.
Jeez,
something came up at work, and so it's frustrating, but I decided to drive back to Long Beach and just eat lunch and do whatever.
To go back at 2.
Right.
Oh my God.
And this was shortly after I had gotten to LA this time. So when I got back down to Long Beach, thinking about what I could do with that time, I thought to myself, maybe I should write something about my project and post it to the LA subreddit as a way to get more people. And so I thought about that and was like, yeah, I'll do that tonight. I think that's a good idea. So left at 12:45 to go to the 2 meeting. And so I'm driving up to the 2 o'clock meeting. It's 1:50. We're just about to have it. Messages me, said something came up with work, had to cancel. So at this point, I wasn't going to drive back down to Long Beach, but it was 2 o'clock and I wasn't meeting the next person until 4. So I just had 2 hours of idle time. And in that time, I wrote up what I was going to write for that Reddit post and wrote it all. So that night I just got home, posted it, and I'm still meeting people today because
From that Reddit post.
Right. So
It's important to look at almost knowing that, okay, this person canceled, there's some type of positive that's going to come of it. Like, I
Right.
can't get frustrated. I'm just going to work on something else, or it wasn't meant to be, and either the time was, it'll happen at another time when it's supposed to happen, but
Right.
always just from like, that's, I try to do that too. It's just don't even give yourself an inch of negativity of getting frustrated. It's like, how do you just accept that moment and turn it into something positive right now instead of holding back and not moving forward on the subject.
right.
But to drive an hour and then drive back and then drive, man, that's
Right.
you're committed to the project by doing that.
Right.
What do you want to see happen next? Like, is there anything that's jumping in your mind that you want to see happen for this project?
Personally, I would like to see just more partnership opportunities.
Yeah.
But that's on me as well. I've been very lax about that. I've just kind of sat back, but also
Which I
because
think is good. I
Yeah.
think it's better to sit back and have people approach you. That's how I've been with this. I want to sit back
Sure.
and wait for people to come to me because they see the value versus you trying to sell it.
Right.
Because then,
And it feels much more natural that
Yes,
way.
agreed.
And I think what would lead into that is just the project tipping into a larger audience. And again, with that, I think that'll be nice, and I think it will happen because I'm finding now when people find out about it, they're attracted to the idea of it.
yeah,
And they come on over and they follow along with it.
yeah.
But I want that to happen naturally as well. So I think just a tipping point in terms of exposure and then partnerships. And then from there, it's using that money to expand into travel
Yeah.
domestically and internationally.
And then have it funded so that you can actually go those places and
Right. And then it's just with those things, the project becomes more interesting. And that makes it more attractive to sponsors or partners. And then having those funds allows me to make it more interesting.
yeah, everything kind of starts rolling.
Or at least that's the strategy.
Yeah, that's the game plan. But
Right.
I mean, at least you have a vision for what you would like to see happen, so that if somebody called you up tomorrow, and was like, "Hey, I have X amount of dollars. What? Sell me on what's your idea?" And you're like, I don't know. I'm just meeting people." But
Sure.
having that in the back of your mind is probably what helps you keep moving forward and keep working towards a goal of like, I want to get to the point where I'm traveling
Right.
Internationally, and I'm flying out next week to Brazil, and then I'm flying from Brazil to London, and
Right.
London to China. I mean, I think that sometimes is the most important thing, is having that vision for what is the goal. And I mean, it's just really a matter of time and knowing that you're just one person away from
Right.
from making that happen. And saying that, and I just remember there's one question I definitely wanted to ask and I almost forgot.
Sure.
If you could meet with any one person, like, who do you want to be part of this project? Who is your dream one-on-one for 1 hour?
It's a good question. In terms of someone that I don't know yet, I don't know. I think Drake would be cool to sit down with.
Yeah.
Despite he's having a hard time right now.
He's
but
definitely having. He might want to do it right now. This might be the time to
Sure.
hit him up.
revive him.
Hit him up in the DM.
Yeah, but I've always I loved the fact that he went from playing a character on a TV show to being someone who was well respected in the hip hop game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to a lot of his music. Like, I'll listen to his music when I'm feeling doubtful about myself because he's so cocky and confident in it
Yeah.
that it's like a pick me up for me.
Yeah.
So I think he would be cool. But one of the things I found through this project is the most interesting people or person that I'll meet is probably someone who no one knows about. And that's been the case. I'll sit down with people and their stories will strike me in a significant way and just completely catch me off guard.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought they'd just be like a typical young millennial
Yeah.
at the time or whatever. And I think that's one of the things that I'm trying to teach to people more often now, is that there's so much value around you in terms of perspective. I think when people think of connecting with each other, they think, well, where can they get me, or do they have this position, or do they have that, and they think that that is what value looks like.
Yeah.
But you could talk to someone whose upbringing was completely different than yours,
Mm-hmm.
who makes you appreciate things. And if you have that appreciation going forward with life, what can you put the price on that, you know?
Yeah, don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
I had somebody not too long ago on a podcast, and they walked in, and I thought this was another podcast, and I had done my research, and then we get into this person's childhood.
Sure.
And it hit me like a freight train, and I was just taken away by like, wow.
Right.
You want to talk about opening eyes, like getting into some really personal subject stuff of
Sure.
just a parent suicide, and just, oh man, it was a refresher of just like, you never know. You treat these interactions like, oh, it's just going to be another conversation, another person that I'm meeting, one of the 10,000 I'm meeting. But
Sure.
then that ends up being the one person where you're like, holy crap, I'm never going to forget this conversation.
Right.
It's unbelievable. What do you you got to be out of here by 5:10?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. We're going to really have to fly on this one.
Sure.
What do you think Rob's purpose is? I got like 3 or 4 questions and we'll get out of here.
Okay. My purpose?
Yeah. What do you think your purpose is?
I think it's to create, I think the larger purpose, like I feel my purpose with this project is just to do it, just to meet 10,000 people for 1 hour at a time. And I'm not doing it to do anything from it. I just want to do it and complete it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I'm learning, and kind of if I were to attach something to it, is to create a culture of human connection, or a culture where human connection is okay or cool or even trendy. Because I think once people see the value in it, then they'll start replicating it, looking for that value within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think the culture exists yet. And I think we actually do have technologies. If you look at Bumble BFF, you can go on there and swipe up with someone who looks like they could be a cool new friend.
Yep.
But it's just weird to sit down with someone. For the purposes of my project, it's okay because I've done it 1,800 times, and it's very natural for someone to come be part of this thing that I've done.
Yeah.
And for me to do it with them. But I think that it's just not a culture that exists yet. Or even for you, it's good for you to connect with people because you have this podcast attached to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think somehow, and I don't know what that looks like or when that will be, but I kind of just hope by walking with my project and doing my thing and have people grab inspiration from it in whatever that means to them.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll go out and meet 10 other people.
Yeah. And you don't know how, like, you don't know where the project is taking you. You don't know what, like, when these opportunities are going to come knocking, but it's like, that's what I remind myself of, is like, as long as I'm delivering 1 episode a week, like I told myself I would, right people are going to follow into it. The content will reach the right people. I'm going to connect with the right people. It's like a conversation I have every day with myself. Just keep going. Things will fall into place with time.
Right.
The right people are going to come across it. You're going to connect with the right people. I don't know who episode 95 is going to be, but when the time is right, it'll fall into place. It's that constant reminder of like, things will happen when it's supposed to happen, but also hoping that it just inspires somebody in some way. Because I enjoy having these conversations and I enjoy connecting with passionate people.
Right.
Hopefully the people that actually listen to it, doesn't matter the number, but the people that do listen are enjoying the content and are genuinely interested in learning more, but also being inspired, or it's helping them in a difficult time when they're traveling, and so on and so forth. This is when I reverse the role.
Sure.
Ask any one question. Could be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. Any one question, fire away.
Okay. This was asked to me by a guy that I had previously met. So the question is, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
What do I do now that I wish I knew when?
What do you know now that you wish you knew then? And the time period could be whatever.
Good question. Great question.
Thank you.
Just be confident in yourself. I think there were times in my life where I kind of, I don't know if I should do it. And I think sometimes in high school, I hesitated from doing the things I actually wanted to do because my friends weren't doing it, or I think about what people were going to think of me. If I just be confident. Now it's so second nature. It's just so natural to me. I think of an idea, I think of a piece of content, I think of a cool idea, and I just do it. And I really don't even think twice about it anymore.
Right.
And I have to really think about back then, even 3 years ago, I was not that same person. I was questioning
Sure.
the things I was doing based on what other people around me got to think or say or do. Be confident and just do the thing like that. If I had known that years ago, I'm not saying I regret it. I'm not saying I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a podcast or whatever. But if there's anything, it's just be confident and don't even worry what other people have to say or what they think. If it's positive, let that fuel you to keep doing whatever that thing is. If it's negative, just brush it off because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like this is nobody's opinion matters except yours. Right. And if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say like, I am happy with what I'm doing, that's great. It's not Rob's life. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, and you're not here to tell me how to live my life.
Sure.
And that's how it's supposed to be. So if I had known the confidence thing of just not even questioning, who knows where I'd be, but that's definitely something I wish I had known. And it's even something I continuously think about. It's like, man, I'm posting YouTube videos like it's no problem. And
right.
I remember posting the first video and I was like, holy crap, I'm putting myself on YouTube. Like, what am I doing? Like,
right.
Hopefully people like this. And now it's like, I want to be a fool on the camera. I want to bring out the energy. I want to have a good time, but that's definitely something. That's a good question. And I'm going to keep the answer short because I know we got to get out of here. Cool. Picture frame 10 years from now. What and who do we see on it of you?
Of me?
Yeah.
10 years from now, me with a family, like married with a wife and kids.
You think you'll be at the 10,000? 10
years from now?
Yeah.
I think so. If not, close to it.
Close to it.
Yeah.
You, family, how many kids?
How many kids? At that point, I have no idea.
Okay. Do you think it'll be in Philly?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. All of my not all of them, one of my best friends is out here in LA with me, but a lot of my good friends are in the Philly area, and my family is in the Philly area, so I've just noticed how much I attach my happiness to my geographic, like, proximity to them. Yeah. So
10 years from now, that's it. And it's going to be the cross off the list of the 10,000 people.
Right.
Where can people find you on social media? Where can they find the project?
Mainly on Instagram. So my handle is @robs10kfriends. And I post to Facebook and Twitter as well, but it's really just me.
To build out the feed, but the Instagram is the main one.
Right.
Is both Twitter and Facebook the @robs10kfriends?
Yeah.
It's the same handle?
Yeah.
Okay.
But everything I do, like communication with people, full stories, is all on Instagram.
And you're out in LA till August, so if people want to meet you and they're in LA, this is the time to contact you because you're here for another 2 months.
Yeah, and I actually think I'm going to come back to LA. So I have 3 weddings the first week of August. And then I think after that, the last of my brother's on August 11th. I'm going to fly back to LA and stick around till the end of October.
So you're going to keep staying out here and keep staying till October and then see where you end up after that.
Holidays will be spent home with the family and whatnot.
Better bring that winter coat. It's going to be cold out there. It's going to be cold out there. Before I ask the last question, thank you for coming in today, especially on the last minute. I know, like I had told you before the pod, sometimes I can build out a couple weeks of content. I appreciate you last minute being able to jump in on this pod.
Sure.
And you'll be the 90th episode, so this is a cool one. And I appreciate being part of your project. I definitely respect what you do. Like I said, you're the 90th. For mine, you're doing 1,800 plus. You're going for 10K. But it's a great concept, and I would imagine that even by the time you hit 2K or 3K, that you're going to be taking these international flights.
Sure.
So I appreciate being a project, and I'm curious to see as the time rolls out where you can go with it. Last question: what's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to somebody that's trying to find that passion, trying to find that purpose? Maybe they're sitting in Deloitte right now, just not enjoying that job. What's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to them?
I think to find the passion or purpose, reflect back on your life and what you enjoy. So I was thinking about it as I asked you that question. A question I've started asking people now is, what's one thing that you can do every day for the rest of your life and not get tired of? And I think for me, I know that's meeting new people. So I know I'm passionate about this project, but I think when you think about it in that context, it's like you could enjoy drinking a beer on Friday and Saturday, but every day for the rest of your life. Do you want to drink a beer? Do you want to golf every day for the rest of your life, or go hiking? Like there are these things that are exciting in moments in time, but if you think about committing to it every single day, that's kind of when you start to find what you're really passionate about. And then once you find that, I think this is the formula for success. I'm still working on it.
Okay.
But it's just what I've seen in my project. So I think there's 2 steps. I think the first step is to start, and then I think the second step is to never stop. Yeah.
2-step process: start and never stop.
Right.
And then you'll find the true happiness and the success in it.
Right.
Wow. Rob, Lawless, thank you for coming in on the podcast, man.
Of course,
I
man. Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Take
See
care.
you.